Greetings, everyone, and welcome to We Are ACEDS, streaming live on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. My name is Mike Quartararo. I am the president of ACEDS. Today, we are joined, or I should say we will be joined momentarily, by Ian Campbell, the CEO of iCONECT. For those who are not aware, iCONECT is a leading software provider in the e-discovery space, an end-to-end solution that helps clients reduce costs, minimize effort, operationalize the e-discovery process, and just solve all of your data problems. You can learn more about iCONECT at iCONECT.com. iCONECT is also an affiliate partner of ACEDS. And one of the things we really like to try to do here at ACEDS is add value to the e-discovery community and, of course, to our membership by showcasing our partners, their products, their services, and what they've got to offer. So with that, let's bring in our guest today, Ian. Thanks so much for making time to join us today.
Nice to be here.
Awesome. We were just talking in the green room about, sort of how long iCONECT's been around, but I want to start a little bit with a brief summary of who you are and the history of iCONECT. When did it start? How did it start? What brought you to this, the world of e-discovery?
That's a great question. I mean, I went to my first legal tech in 1996, which is, geez, a long time ago now, and ran around. And at the time, the concordances and the summations and LexisNexis were probably the big players on the floor. And we struck up a conversation with Concordance at the time, and they kind of liked us. We liked them, and we actually became the Concordance reseller and trainer for the Canadian market. And then we had a client who said, "Hey, can we get to this information from other places around the world?" And we were sort of like, "No." Because Citrix you couldn't print, go to anywhere was crap. I mean, it was struggling. But they had an API. They had a thing called a DLL, and we played with that a little bit. And we literally created a web page that sat in front of Concordance. And we took that to a few of Concordance's clients, and they went, "Wow, you've kind of web enabled this. We don't have to fly people from around the world anymore. We can actually just give them internet access, secured internet access to our centralized database." So that's really how it started. Was a client who came to us. We were a technology company in the legal space, basically doing legal networks and representing a number of products. But they said, "We've got a problem. Can you solve it?" And we started down the road of developing software. So that was in probably August of 1999. Which, if you think back, was about 5 months before the world was going to end on December 31st, 1999. That didn't happen. That didn't happen, thank goodness. And we went to Legal Tech that year and became a bit of a darling at the show because pretty much every major law firm out there was using Concordance, and we gave them a way to web enable it. And so our initial clients were the Kirklands and Mayor Browns and O'Melveny's of the world, who at the time were trying to figure out ways to deal with their international offices and have them collectively work on projects. So that was kind of how it started. We moved over to Oracle in 2004, SQL in 2008, and we've continued to grow ever since. So it's been quite a journey. But really, our day one was conversations we had at Legal Tech at the time, it was called, and at Legal Tech with lots of different folks, and we've been problem solvers ever since.
And it really just dawned on me, the name iCONECT. Is that a reference to a better connection?
Absolutely. And initially we tried to get iCONECT with two N's and we couldn't get it. And and then iCONECT.com was actually owned by a car dealership in Bristol, England. So we originally started the company as iCONECT.net. And about 2 years later, we actually got the .com. So it's, but even iCONECT.net, it was the internet. It kind of made sense at the time. But, from from the concept of sort of starting in a garage, we kind of started in a garage, and we at the time, Google didn't exist. Netscape and Yahoo were probably the browsers and search engines that people were using, and it was a different time. And all those things we all now take for granted. But I remember working with clients in South Africa who were still on dial-up, and we had to figure out a way to make it work with that too.
Oh, cue the dial-up sound. I didn't come equipped with sound effects, but well, listen, let me ask you a question. So many companies in our space have come and gone. Why do you think that is, and why do you think the iCONECT brand stands up against everything today?
Yeah, to be frank, making software is hard. It's very hard. I mean, one of the biggest challenges is that we start development on a product probably 6 to 8 to 9 months before it's actually released to the market, which means we take on the burden of all the labor, all the QC, all the testing, all of that we take on before we even get a dollar from anybody. So it's sort of, we have to build it before people will buy it. And that's a hard process. And I think that's why people struggle getting into software, because the upfront capital required to actually develop the software from the ground up is very, very expensive. And so I think that's one reason. But it's a mature market now. I think most people who are buying, whether it's e-discovery or cyber or document data governance software, they're maybe on their second or third or maybe even fourth generation of purchase. And sometimes it's because the product they used to use, the company is just gone, or the company amalgamated with another company. And maybe the same trusted relationship just isn't there. So I think that mature market also makes it harder for companies to compete. We use the word every now and then, the word legacy, because we've been around for a long time. We have a very strong tenure. We've been used on some of the world's largest and most complex legal cases. But there's a good side and a bad side to that. To be frank, every now and then we get someone who says, no, I'm not going to use iCONECT. Well, why is that? No, you know what? There was a problem with it when I worked on a case in 2004. And it's mind-blowing to me, because it's like, well, first of all, the fact that you used our platform 20 years ago is pretty incredible. The fact that we still have a platform. Clearly, it's not the same platform. Microsoft Word wasn't the same Microsoft Word in 2004. That wasn't very good either, when everyone was trying to get away from WordPerfect. Things have continued to grow within our space. There's been lots of disruption. And we always end up with that sort of build versus buy philosophy. There's a number of players in the market who have just bought other companies because they don't have the time or energy to build it themselves. And that's certainly a way to do it. We've taken a little bit of a different approach. We have a very strong development team, and if we have an idea, we want to build it. And that way we make sure that it's optimized and it very nicely fits in with what we're doing. The one exception to that was some AI technology that we purchased about 3 years ago called AFI. Some of you may recall that company out in Norway. And we purchased that technology, and that's really been the backbone of the core AI that we have in the platform now. And we're going to talk about that a little later on.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that in a minute. But before we do that, I want to be sure that we highlight some of the new features you've got in the platform. Tell us a little bit about what those are and how our listeners can enjoy those features.
Yeah, so a couple of different things. There are others in the market who are offering a cloud-only solution, or they've historically offered an on-premises solution and now really are trying to push people to a cloud solution. We offer both. We've offered both since day one. We've also got a very strong network of providers out there who also offer it. In fact, they've got their own little mini clouds. So it's, instead of having one cloud, we've got really an unlimited number of clouds, because you can create your own cloud using our software. A number of our corporate clients actually use our software in-house within their own data centers. Some of them put them in Azure or AWS. So there's lots of optionality with regard to deployment, and we've continued to enhance that with the new versions that we've done. What's significant for us is that I mentioned we started on concordance, we went to Oracle, we went to SQL. With SQL, we were using for the techies in the crowd, we were using DT search in the back end. That has some challenges to it. We've actually migrated the entire application to Elastic in our new version, and we've actually had Elastic in the platform for about 4 or 5 years, but in the back end, we've now brought it to the forefront. So the searching is now Elastic, the reporting is now Elastic, the charting and graphing is now Elastic, and in all honesty, it's just lightning fast. I keep asking Dev to give me a metric, and how much faster is it? And hopefully we'll have that for legal tech, but it's in the hundreds. I mean, it is really, really exciting for us. We're actually in the 11th generation of the software, and what that means is that not only have we optimized the platform, we've continued to fix bugs. I mean, the bugs are just part of software. We try to find as many as we possibly can, and then a few of them, leak through, and we need to fix those as well. So, but when you get to the 11th generation of a platform, you've plugged a lot of holes. And you've optimized a lot of workflows. And I think the maturity of the platform now, we are going to be showing the new version at Legal Tech and Legal Week. And I think people will be excited about what they see, but certainly the speed. We've maintained a really consistent user experience, so we haven't changed the actual UI of the application, and I think that's key for our heavier users to make sure that they're not confused when they go from one version to another. However, the power and speed in the back end is like nothing we've ever seen in the platform before.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I just got a new laptop, and when I open it up and Windows launches, and I'm like, wow, why are they always moving stuff around and changing? I'm used to things in the same place.
That's right.
Nothing annoys a user more than a completely reorganized interface, right?
Agreed.
Let me ask you a question, because I'm always curious about this. We work in some would say a fairly niche industry. I mean, certainly the legal industry is not niche, but e-discovery itself. But are you hearing and are you working with other industries outside of legal that and are they struggling with data like we do in legal?
They are. They're struggling with it in a whole bunch of ways. They're certainly struggling with volume, because most people have had the philosophy for a long time. It's just sort of like, keep it. Hard drive storage is cheap. Talk to IT. What should I do with this? I'll send it to me. What do? They back it up. Probably not one time, but 10 times. And we're now seeing organizations scratching their head, realizing that first of all, they're hanging on to things they shouldn't be hanging on to. Second of all, it's riddled with private information they shouldn't be continuing to store. And there's a lot of government regulatory compliance in and around what you should keep and what you shouldn't keep. And they're struggling with, how do I deal with that? Think of a large company who goes through 5 M&As, and they go and acquire 5 companies, and all they literally do is take, we acquired a new company, let's grab their hard drives and drop them into our hard drives, and they don't really know what's there, and there's a risk associated with that. So I think volume is a challenge, privacy is a challenge, destruction is a challenge, knowing what you actually can get rid of. And then finally, analysis. I mean, I think the ability to be able to understand what you've got, put restrictions in and around it to make sure it's accessible by the appropriate people. And we've got some tools to do that. We're going to be showing some of that at Legal Tech with regard to how we can help companies with governance and data minimization, because it's a real need out there.
Yeah, listen, I like to say e-discovery 101. If there isn't a legal reason to keep it or a business reason that's really valid, what are you holding on to it for?
Yeah, but there's also some regulations in and around certain types of data, or data that contains legacy environmental information, and there's all kinds of restrictions in and around 25-year holds and things like that that sort of overshadow some of the things that you just talked about. So yeah, it's a complex area, and we've gone and used the core iCONECT architecture to go and build a layer on top of it to help with that level of analysis.
Yeah, absolutely. So listen, AI is all the buzz, artificial intelligence. It's all the rage right now. There's everybody's got a product, everybody's got some marketing going on. What's your take? Is AI gonna up. It's also the time of year when everybody's making predictions too. So let's do our little prediction here. My prediction came out the other day, and I said it's not going anywhere. But what's your take? Are we there yet? Is AI going to upend e-discovery? And if so, how?
These are really frustrating conversations. I think one of the challenges is that the definition of AI has changed in the past year.
Yes.
AI used to mean near dupe, email threading, cal, tar, conceptually fine similar. That's what AI meant.
Right.
If you read any news feed these days, USA Today or Google News or what have you, the words ChatGPT are probably in there 5 times, or Bard, or the different ones that are out there. So I think one of the challenges is that I like to draw a line in the sand and say, here's the stuff you can use today. We have it. Others have it. So near duplicate detection, conceptually fine similar. They are tremendous work-saving tools. They can save hundreds and hundreds of hours, millions and millions of dollars in a review. And everybody who's listening today should be using that AI. The challenge is now we've got the new AI, which is the generative AI, which if I dump in a bunch of information and you have some level of context of what I'm trying to do, can you just figure it out for me with no context? And there's an example I've used in a couple of presentations. It's a KISS poster live in Vancouver. And if I were to say, tell me or give me something else related to that. Well, one person might say, well, here's Guns N' Roses and here's Metallica. And somebody else might say, Michael Bublé live in Vancouver. And if you think about it, Michael Bublé is probably the closest one to KISS live in Vancouver because it's male, Caucasian, English speaking, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s music.
Actually from Vancouver?
And it's live in Vancouver, and he's from Vancouver. So that's actually probably the best match with no context. And I think that's the challenge that we need to overcome, whether it's ChatGPT or others, is that there's without context, it's hard. And giving context, giving human intelligence to the AI, personally, like you, I don't think we're quite there yet. I think AI is a fantastic tool from a workflow perspective to optimize workflow and save your clients millions of dollars. If you just want AI to do the work for you with generative AI, I think we have a little ways to go. Now, if that AI is read my contract and tell me where the highest levels of risk are, well, that's kind of back here to workflow. And I think that's great, but don't go and hand AI a million documents and say, I don't know what this is about. I haven't read any documents. Can you just tell me what's going on here? That's hard. And I think we're not quite there yet. I think we might get there, but I don't think it's going to be in the short term.
I'm with you on that. All right, listen, everybody, we've got a special guest today who's going to join us. Let's bring in Emily. Emily Johnson oversees the iCONECT incident response data mining team and has an extensive array of professional experience in all aspects of litigation, privacy, and discovery. So more than 18 years experience as an attorney, including as a litigator specializing in e-discovery, in global privacy, and the oversight of doc review. Emily, welcome to the broadcast. Tell us a little bit about your new role at iCONECT.
Yeah, sure. So I have been lucky enough to be at iCONECT now for almost a year. Last, when I joined iCONECT, we were talking about Legal Week. Now, granted, it was in February or March last year, but but that's my mental 1-year anniversary. So I'm excited to be here. My background, like you said, is pretty well mixed. About a third of it with vendors, about a third of it with large law firms, about a third of it working in-house at large banks for doing e-discovery and privacy work. And about 5 years ago, I sort of fell into starting to do data mining for cybersecurity incidents to help provide notification lists so that folks whose data was impacted in a cyber event could be notified. I started that probably about 5 years ago. And the reality was that there just wasn't too much great software out there that could help enable that review. And so what you ended up having was a very manual, very detail oriented, very short time frame, high pressure process. The people who are doing that work are doing their level best, but a lot of them are probably doing it on 3 or 4 hours of sleep because it is a very difficult review process with high stakes. There's no reasonableness concept in cyber review. So, you look for
That's right.
perfection with a lot of moving parts.
I imagine it gets unreasonable at times.
Oh, it's intensely. So actually, when I was at my previous employer, iCONECT came and talked to us and said, "Hey, we think we've cracked it. We think we have a cyber offering." I looked at it and said, "It's all right. I think you probably could use some work." And hey, actually, I'd love to help you with that. And so ended up coming to iCONECT with the sole purpose of trying to build a kind of purpose-built tool that, from the perspective of somebody who spent her last 5 years really just doing hundreds and hundreds of these cases inside and out. So trying to build a cyber review, cyber data mining tool that would allow us to, allow our users to get to the heart of the matters quickly, pull out information quickly and accurately, and get great notification lists to sort of take some of those pain points away. It's a tough industry right now for folks doing that work. There's a lot of mental health stuff. There's a lot of work-life stuff. It's a tough industry, just being realistic for the folks doing that data mining. And my goal coming here was trying to solve that in a way that I couldn't when I was in the weeds of the work, right? So I wanted to come here to try to help the folks doing the work have a more streamlined process, an easier process, so that they can go back to having dinner with their kids.
So I think, industry purists might say, cyber, e-discovery, apples and oranges, some overlap for sure. I certainly see the usefulness of the processes that overlap.
Yeah.
But
I think that's how we. Oh, sorry, Mike. Didn't mean to cut you off.
Is it a natural extension of what iCONECT is already doing?
Absolutely. So it is. The reason e-discovery companies got even brought into data mining is because it's sort of, it passes the does it look and smell like a duck test, right? It's a bunch of people in rooms looking at a lot of documents, trying to pull information out of those documents, right? When you get down to it, though, e-discovery review is really a data categorization process, whereas cyber data mining is a data extraction process. So there are some pretty large differences at the base of it, what you're trying to accomplish, which is why a lot of the tools on the market don't work for it because, a lot of the sort of legacy e-discovery providers have been building tools for data categorization as they should, and not big data extraction. Some of my cases, we would have millions, plural millions of data subjects pulled out that we would then have to work on normalizing. But when I started talking to iCONECT, and the reason that I was most excited by what iCONECT was trying to do is that they already had a lot of the base pieces in place, right? They already had good PII detection. They already had a tool that was easy to use from a user perspective. I mean, they have great support. They have great underlying technology. And so all I had to do really was build a few things on top of that. And the platform was, elastic enough to be able to support those tweaks in a way that, I can have this product that now stands alone. You don't have to know anything. You don't have to ever have used iCONECT before. But if you are an iCONECT user and you find yourself doing cyber data mining, you're going to be, have that leg up already because you already know how the batching works. You already know how the graphing works. You already know how a lot of the things work. So I think that for our current users, it will look and feel very familiar. A few tweaks, a few changes to your approach. For people who haven't used iCONECT, for the last decade, you're going to be able to jump in and be a great user of the product within, minutes. That's something that's exciting about iCONECT is how easy it is to learn and use. It's not, we are able to accomplish complex things in a simple product.
And I think things like ingestion and reporting and searching, and as Emily alluded to, the identification of PII at scale are some of the foundational core components of the platform. And I think this becomes a natural extension of what we've been doing for a long time.
Yep, totally agree.
I think a lot of folks sort of migrate towards the OneTrusts of the world when it comes to these things. What's going to be different about iCONECT's solution that isn't already in the market? And OneTrust is just one example. There are many others.
Yeah. So, I mean, one problem we have, something that's fun about being in cyber is it's kind of like being in e-discovery back in the day before there were rules, is that there's a lot of terms floating out
Moving
there.
target.
There's a lot of different, so it's a and no reasonableness standard, as I said. And so where iCONECT fits in the scheme of things is, your OneTrust and things are going to be more likely upfront, right? Helping you to identify PII upfront, maybe helping you to respond to an incident from the perspective of who's in my system, what did they touch, that kind of thing. What our tool is going to do is, once you know that there's been an incident, it's going to help you harness all of that data that was impacted and get to the bottom of who do I need to tell, right? Which is a really complex question in the United States, particularly. All 50 states have different laws, different regulations. Some of them require you to tell the regulator the impact of your event in less than a month. And there are, sometimes terabytes of impacted data. So you have to move quickly and accurately, because you don't want to tell your regulator one day, hey, we think it's 10 people. And then a week later, just kidding, it's 1.5 million. You have to get to the bottom quickly of what was the impact. Where we saw this business really explode was where business email compromises started coming in, ransomware events started coming in. And so it was a bunch of unstructured data, basically meaning it's my email inbox. Does that mean you just have to notify me? Well, no, I could have my kids' social security numbers in there because I signed them up for benefits. I could have my husband's information. Maybe my client sent me a credit card number to pay for something. Maybe I cut and paste an Excel spreadsheet into my email to show somebody something about, our clients. And there's all kinds of personal information regarding that. So getting that personal information out of that unstructured data is way more complex than you might initially think, right? Are Emily Johnston and Emily Johnson the same person? Was there just a typo in my name? Anyway, there's a lot of normalization that has to happen. So what our tool is going to do is a couple of things. One, you're going to get
say that, because I think I said Johnson.
Yeah, no, you're good. It's with a T. Back in the day of Facebook groups, there used to be a group called "It's Johnston, Not Johnson," and the icon was a photo of Mr. T. So that's my favorite Johnston story.
All right,
anyway,
listen, we're almost at time.
Yeah,
but I want to spend a couple of minutes talking about what's coming up. What are you doing at Legal Week? What's exciting? What's new? Ian, let's start with you.
Yeah, first of all, Emily will be there talking about and actually showcasing our new platform for cyber incident response. We're very excited about that. Our new version will be in the booth, where certainly people can come by and visit us on the main floor, or they can set up a meeting at a private room by contacting iCONECT.com. We're also involved. You mentioned before about being involved with ACEDS. We're actually sponsoring one of the ACEDS events, the kind of meet and greet, which is happening, and I think all the promotion goes out for that next week. So look for that in your inbox and in your LinkedIn feeds. And we're very excited to be a part of that event. But I think overall we've got lots of new things to talk about, and this is a great showcase to tell people where we've been, but more importantly, tell people where we're going.
Awesome. Emily, thoughts on Legal Week?
Yeah, I'm excited to be there. I'm kind of a giant nerd when it comes to all things cyber review, and I'm excited to talk about it with folks who understand some of the ins and outs and complexities there. And honestly, joined iCONECT for the sole purpose of helping to solve some of those problems. And I'm excited that after many, many months of development and growth, we're finally at a place where we can start sharing that with people. And I think it's going to be great.
Awesome. Just one last question. How should listeners get in touch?
Probably go to iConnect.com. There's the contact us in the top right-hand corner, and you can talk to an iConnect expert about data governance, cyber incident response, e-discovery, or any questions about legal tech. So that's probably the best way to find us.
Awesome. Listen, this has been great. Ian and Emily, thanks so much for making time for us. We look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. Thank you for your support over the years. Thank you for your friendship. All right, everyone. If you are interested in our short form interviews like this one, you can find We Are ACEDS live in your LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook feeds, or we generally park these on our YouTube channel where you can watch previous interviews as well. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you soon.
Take care.